Welcome to Just One Song. My name is Kurt Bemke, and for tonight's show we're going to write one song in under 45 minutes. But the song doesn't have to be good, it just has to exist. With me tonight is the co-producer of this program, Adam Orozco. Hello, Adam, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. So, Adam, you're the co-producer of this show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do behind the scenes to make this show happen?
So what I do is I basically get all the raw audio and I smush it all together and then I make it sound good. To be short and sweet about it. But I basically run it through a bunch of boring rendering processes and take out things like clicks, background noise, mix and master it to get it just right for like Spotify and all those volume limitations that all the background Amazon Music and require of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically make sure that we're in compliance with all that so that we don't sound funny, and then just making sure that we sound good in general.
I appreciate that. And with getting rid of the noise, there's only so much you can take out because I provide you with the audio. I record the show, I send it to you, and then you just kind of have to make sense with whatever I send you.
Yeah, and that's the fun part about it. I have processes just to make things go as quickly as possible, mm-hmm. and just it's good repetition. And so when I'm doing that, it gets boring when you don't have a new mistake to fix. So, like something comes out of nowhere, you've done the same kind of a show for like a couple times and then you're like, oh, okay, I got this down. And then out of nowhere, you're going to get, oh, shoot, there's this problem that I've never dealt with before. How can we fix this? How can we go about making this great?
So what do you like most about doing this? What do you like about working on the show?
I like that this show helps out, or it's looking to help and educate the community about music. And I feel like this is a show that's really going to help younger generations of musicians to really find out, all these musicians are able to, have their own process, and this is how they're doing it. Let me try a little bit of this. Let me try a little bit of that, mm-hmm. and see if it helps my process. And also, I love talking about like the business side of things, because when we went to Cal Poly, I did graduate with a business degree and a music degree. Yeah, so I'm really like process driven on one side and very artsy on the other. So it's like it's a nice balance and equilibrium there too.
I see.
So doing the show, like I get to do a lot of like, I see the background of this is how this business is made, which is awesome and fun. But I also get to do the audio stuff too, which is what I went to school for. That's what I wanted to do with my life.
So at this point in the show, we've released three episodes. Have you felt like those episodes have helped you with your songwriting process? Do you feel like you've learned something from those shows?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially with Quinn's show, I felt like I learned about writing lyrics and how to make a song into a story. And I never really thought about making the bridge my conclusion to a song before. Although I've done that before.
Yeah.
I always use the bridge as more of a transitional part. But I never really thought about it as a bridge as much as I thought about, this is a different part of the song and I'm moving my audience into an emotional kind of transition. Whether that's bringing the song down and then back to a big hit, or bringing the song down and then slowly allowing my audience to kind of fade off with it by taking out instrumentation, things like that too. So that was something I learned, and that was really good insight for me. Danny's, I really liked it because I learned that, how to write to your audience, or at least that perspective, because it was a kid's song,
Yeah, it was very specific. It's a group of listeners.
Exactly. And so I really enjoyed being able to, I already knew it, but it opened myself to a different perspective on it. Yeah, and through Martin's, it was really cool because he's really laid back and stuff, and I like that.
At the end of the day, just music. It's fun. It's not. If you could make a career writing music and being a songwriter, that's awesome. So I think if we can, as musicians, take music just a little less seriously, then I think we'll all be happier for it. And that's kind of the premise of the show that we talked about.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't have to be a good song. It just has to be a song. There's no there's no pressure. It removes so much pressure for having to write a good song. I think quality doesn't matter just so long as you wrote something.
Definitely.
I'm sure you have felt that as a musician.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about your musical journey.
It's my musical journey. It was basically a hodgepodge of me working my way through from 7th grade to now in a bunch of different realms. So like I played flamenco guitar for a little while. I played trumpet. I was in drumline. I was a bass player for a long time.
Yeah, when I met you were playing bass.
Yeah, I did upright bass, learned a little piano, and learned a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And then eventually started recording when I realized I couldn't remember the songs that I was writing. I was like, well, I have bad memory, so I'm just going to record everything, and then I can kind of fiddle my way back into how to play it on each instrument. Yeah, I did a lot of producing and stuff. I've been actually writing hip-hop beats and stuff.
How has your writing style or process, has it evolved over time? How has it changed?
When you're younger, it's really hard to be organized in anything, especially when your life is being run by so many different classes, parents, and all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So definitely in the beginning it was, okay, you're going to these music teachers, and they're showing you stuff. And I kind of just felt like it was a puzzle. Like, okay, they're showing me these things because my parents put me in flamenco guitar classes. I didn't want to play flamenco guitar. I wanted to play punk rock music. So you could already see the struggle there.
Right.
And so, yeah, I ended up learning flamenco guitar, but then trying to figure out, okay, how do I play punk rock music with this? And eventually, I got more into rock and stuff, and then became a DJ, funk band. I did a lot of different things.
You developed a very wide relationship with music as opposed to a very deep one centered around one specific type.
Yeah, definitely. It's been really weird because I do feel like when I meet other musicians, it's very, oh, I'm a guitarist, I'm a bassist, I'm a this, I'm a that. And I don't really feel like I've ever fit into that category before.
You're a musician. Yeah, you have a general love for music.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I mean, nothing wrong with being a specific, instrumentalist. If you are a cellist or a pianist or whatever, if that's how your relationship with music is through a specific instrument, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally appropriate and it's very common. But I think when you have a relationship with a wide variety of instruments and a wide variety of different genres, I think it's a different appreciation for music. Not a better one, but a different one.
Yeah. Oh, definitely different. I do feel like I have a flexibility. It was maybe about 8 years ago, I was in a band. We were doing a practice one day, and I was getting bored because we'd been practicing for about 2 hours at that point. And I was like, you know what? Let's have fun. And so I was like, hey, all right, when the chorus comes up, let's play it in a metal fashion. And we were playing funk rock music at the time. So they were like, oh, okay, we'll make it metal. And then all of a sudden we started calling out just different genres, and then we would change to that genre of music and just kind of keep it going as a loop. And I always remember that, and I was like, oh, wow, that was really interesting, because now we can go on stage, and if we're ever bored or if we ever wanted to change something up, all we had to do was look at each other, and we knew what was going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like we were creating like links and connections through that.
You're just vibing.
Exactly.
I love a good vibe with a with a song with another group of musicians.
Oh yeah. Like getting a good vibe down is probably one of the most important things. I feel like when I write music, if I have either the right vibe and mindset or right vibe as in, like, you know, there's a rapper that came into the room and he's really excited about X, Y, and Z project that he's doing. That'll get me excited and make me want to do a project. I'm like, oh, I haven't written a song in a day or two. Okay, I got to get back on it.
I mean, for me personally, I like being in a good mood when I write a song. But, yeah, I guess music is all about emotions. Do you think it's... So, like, we were talking about earlier how, like, to taking music less seriously. And I know, like, it's all fun if you're writing, like, fun music, like, if you're in a group and you're vibing really well with people. But, like, you know, one thing we talk about, I mentioned this in Danny's show, is I personally believe in letting people feel their emotions. And I wonder if, like, if you're writing a song that isn't necessarily a happy song, does that require that you take music more seriously than before? Or can you still, like, approach it from a means that's, like, can you write a sad song while not taking music seriously?
Yeah, I can. And I've actually found a really easy way for me to do it. It's, I give myself rules. So, for example, like, if I don't feel like writing a song and I need to write a song, I will only stick to music theory. And I will not go out of that.
I see. Huh.
Or I'll say, okay, this song that I'm writing, it has to be 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
So you put limitations on yourself.
Yeah, and that, you know, having those limitations and being able to work within those limitations not only, you know, puts a shell around you and constricts you artistically, but it's also making you develop, you know, it's making you develop more because you have to think outside of what you would normally do.
Yeah, I think I've forgotten what show we were talking about how when you have to write music for a class, they give you limitations. You have an hour, or you have to use these words, or you're only allowed to use so many chords. And I think if you think of music as like a blank canvas, you know, if you have like if you're not an experienced artist and you have just a blank wall that's like 10 feet by 10 feet and they say, go to town, you're going to feel utterly lost. You don't know what to do. But if someone was like, okay, you can only use blue, green, and red. Those are the only colors. Those are some serious limitations. And then when you have those, you can look at that. Okay, what can I do with this space? What can I make look good? Or if you're given a small canvas and they say, go to town, okay, what can I put on this small canvas? How can I paint on that? And I think music is very similar. If you figure out a way to reasonably limit yourself, you can come up with some very decent pieces of music. And I think that was the thing I struggled with when I was coming out of college, was I didn't have a deadline to write a song. I didn't have these rules. All of a sudden, here I am. I know how to write music. I know music theory. I know how to play my instrument reasonably well. I've been playing for 14 years. What do I do with it? And I was just lost. And I realized I don't have a creative process. So, Adam, for you, I want to know, what's your creative process? What is your songwriting process?
So the first part is definitely putting those limits on myself. Because if, it's like you were saying, if you have a blank canvas and nobody tells you what to do, you're kind of just confused and lost. So my approach is just say the first animal that comes to mind and put that on the canvas. So in this case, what's a genre? So if I can't come up with anything...
Funk.
All right, so... And then I would say something like... Basically, it's questions I ask myself.
Okay.
So, okay, genre, funk... All right, BPM, like how fast do I want to go? And that's basically
what
like...
feeling do you want it to have?
Yeah, does it want to be exciting? Okay, that's going to be a higher tempo. Do I want it to be less exciting or more like emotional? I'll do more of a slower tempo. And it also depends on what the genre is that you pick. Like, what are their tempos that